The word crime, which comes from the Latin word crimen, which means the offense. The criminology, which came in the late 19th century, and which mostly focus on the collecting the data for the crime. And there are like many theories which was connected with the criminology. So with the crime, the first was the biological, and the second was the sociological theory. In the biological theory, they thinks that the crime which was done, so they mostly think that it was inherited or they're trait by their parents. So the next was the sociological theory. In the sociological theory, they thinks that the crime which was done is mostly depends upon the society rather than the one individual. So the next was the crime in Canada. So the crime in Canada was defined by the legal code of conduct, in which they tell how the crime was done, or what are the steps for the if the crime was done in the Canada. So the next was the Western and indigenous research on the crime. In the Western research, they mostly focus on the data, numerical data, and data or the numerical analysis. In the indigenous research, they were rooted in the hostological worldviews, or emphasizing the respect and the interconnectedness. The next was the approach. There were like two approaches. One was deductive and one was inductive. The deductive approach, which began with a theory which was tested through data, and then inductive approach, which starts with the observation and also build theories used in the qualitative method. The next is the crime in Canada. The crime in Canada data was collected by mostly with the three processes. The first was the police data. In the police data, they collect the data from the police, and they know about how much the crime was done in the Canada. The second was the victim data, which was also known as the criminal society survey, in which they know about how much the crime was done in the Canada. The next is the self-report, in which the person or the victim himself comes and tells about the crime done. So these were the three processes through which they come to know about how much the crime was done. The next is the nine steps of the research process. The first was the planning. In the planning, they identify the objectives and how they do the planning, how the process will be started and on what they will work. The second is the conceptualization, in which they define the sources and on which they will focus on the variables. The next is the choice of method. In the choice of method, they mainly focus on that whether they will choose the quantitative or the qualitative method for the process of this. So the next is the operationalization. In this, they establish how the variable are to be measured. The next is this sampling. In this sampling, in this process, in this fifth process, they select the they select the participation or the data sources. The next is the data collection. In this, they collect the data from several in which they collect the data from the information from the many research they are doing. Next is the data processing, in which they will organize and prepare the data. The next is the analyze. In this, they interpret or analyze the data or the findings they have done. The next is the application. In the last application, they will form the policies through which the data they have collected. So that's all.